Leadership law number 5, the law of addition. Leaders add value by serving others. In a world where many political leaders enjoy their power and prestige, and where CEOs of large corporations make astronomical incomes, work and live in luxury, and appear to be most concerned with what's in it for them, Jim Senegal was an oddity. Senegal is the co-founder and former CEO of Costco, one of the largest retailers in the world, and an organization that regularly ranks near the top as a best brand, admired company, and respected retailer. He retired in 2012. While he was CEO, Senegal didn't seem much interested in the perks of leadership. He worked in an unremarkable office comprised primarily of folding tables and chairs. If he invited people to meet him at the corporate offices, he went down to the lobby himself to meet them. He answered his own phone, and the salary he took was modest, a third of the average CEO's salary during his tenure. Senegal's path to corporate leadership wasn't typical either. He didn't attend an Ivy League school. He wasn't a lawyer or a CPA. As a teenager, he thought of becoming a doctor, but his high school grades were less than stellar. So he went off to a community college and earned an associate degree. While he was attending San Diego State College, now university, he helped a friend unload mattresses at a new local retail store called FedMart. What he expected to be one day of work turned into a regular job. When he received a promotion, he discontinued his studies. He had found his career and mentor, Sol Price, FedMart's chairman. Under Price's guidance, Senegal rose to the post of executive vice president for merchandising. Senegal later helped Price found Price Club, and then went on to co-found Costco in 1983 with Jeffrey H. Brotman. The company's growth was rapid, and Costco purchased and merged with Price Club 10 years later. Retail experts give a lot of attention to Senegal's formula for success. Offer a limited number of items, rely on high-volume sales, keep costs as low as possible, and don't spend money on advertising. But there is something that separated him from the competitors who employ similar strategies: the way he treated his employees. He believed in paying his employees well and offering them good benefit packages. Senegal believed that if you pay people well, you can get good people and good productivity. You also get employee loyalty. Costco has by far the lowest employee turnover rate in all of retailing. But Senegal's leadership style of adding value didn't end with the employee compensation. He went out of his way to show Costco workers that he cared about them. He maintained an open-door policy with everyone. He wore an employee name tag, was on a first-name basis with everyone, and made sure to visit every single Costco store at least once a year. No manager and no staff in any business feels very good if the boss is not interested enough to come and see them, said Senegal. The employees know that I want to say hello to them because I like them. The only real criticism of Senegal came from Wall Street. Analysts there believed that Senegal was too kind and generous to his people. They wanted him to pay employees less and squeeze them more. But Senegal wouldn't think of it. He believed that if you treat the employees and customers right, profits will follow. On Wall Street, he observed, they're in the business of making money between now and next Thursday. I don't say that with any bitterness, but we can't take that view. We want to build a company that will still be here 50 and 60 years from now. When it came down to it, Senegal was more focused on adding value to people by serving them than on serving himself. It's improper for one person to take credit when it takes so many people to build a successful organization, stated Senegal. He lived by the law of addition. He said, I just think that if you're going to try to run an organization that's very cost-conscious, then you can't have those disparities. Having an individual who is making 100 or 200 or 300 times more than the average person working on the floor is wrong. Senegal summed it up this way: this is not altruistic. This is good business. He could also say it's good leadership. Why do leaders lead? If you were to ask a lot of leaders, you might hear a variety of responses, believing a leader's job is to, be in charge, make the organization run smoothly, make money for the shareholders, build a great company, make the organization better than the competition, perhaps maybe winning is the cause. Does a leader's motive matter, or is it simply getting the job done that's important? What is the bottom line? I didn't give motives much thought until in the last 25 years. I vividly remember speaking on leadership to a group of government officials in a developing nation years ago and teaching that leaders add value by serving others. I could see that many of the audience members looked very uncomfortable as I talked about it. When I finished speaking and mentioned what I had observed to one of my hosts, he said, "Yes, I'm sure they did look uncomfortable. What you have to realize is that probably more than half of those people killed someone to obtain their current position of power." I've seen and heard a lot of things around the world, but that shocked me. In that moment, I realized that I should never take for granted why leaders lead and how they go about doing it. Many people view leadership the same way that they view success, hoping to go as far as they can to climb the ladder, to achieve the highest position possible for someone with their talent. But contrary to conventional thinking, I believe the bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. That is achieved by serving others and adding value to their lives. The interaction between every leader and follower is a relationship, and all relationships either add or subtract from a person's life. If you're a leader, then trust me, you're having either a positive or a negative impact on the people that you lead. How can you tell? There's one critical question. Are you making things better for the people who follow you? That's it. If you cannot answer that with an unhesitant yes and show some evidence that backs it up, then you may very well be a subtractor. Often subtractors don't realize that they are subtracting from others. I would say that 90% of all people who take more than they give do so unintentionally, and they don't recognize how negative their impact is on others. However, when leaders are subtractors and don't change their ways, it's only a matter of time before their impact on others goes from subtraction to division. In contrast, 90% of all the people who add value to others do so intentionally. Why do I say that? Because human beings are naturally selfish. I'm selfish. Being an adder requires me to get out of my comfort zone every day and think about adding value to others. But that's what it takes to be a leader that others want to follow. And eventually, if you add value to others long enough, that value seems to multiply. The people who make the greatest difference seem to understand this. If you examine some of the people who won Nobel Peace Prizes, for example, Albert Schweitzer, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, you see leaders who were less interested in their position and more interested in their positive impact on others. If you read their writings or study their lives, you notice that they wanted to make things better for others. They didn't set out to receive the Nobel Prize. They desired to engage in noble service to their fellow human beings. A servant's mindset pervaded their thinking. Albert Einstein, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, asserted, "Only a life lived in the service of others is worth living." He understood that great leadership meant great service. So how do leaders serve their people? Jim Senegal paid good wages and treated employees with respect. Martin Luther King Jr. led people to march for civil rights. Mother Teresa cared for the sick and established places where others could do the same. As a leader, your best place to be in an organization is where you can serve others best. The specifics will depend on vision, talent, opportunities, and organization. But the intention should always be the same, to add value. When you add value to people, you lift them up, help them advance, make them a part of something bigger than themselves, and assist them in becoming who they were made to be. Often their leader is the only person able to help them do those things. As I try to live out the law of addition, I follow 4 guidelines that help me add value to others. I believe we can add value to others when we, first, truly value others. Becoming a leader means to give up our right to think of ourselves first. We need to focus on other people. We must value people and demonstrate our caring in a way that our followers know it. I'm told that in American Sign Language, the sign for serving is to hold the hands out in front with palms up and to move them back and forth between the signer and the signee. And really, that is a good metaphor for the attitude that servant leaders should possess. They should be open, trusting, caring, offering their help, and willing to be vulnerable. Leaders who add value by serving believe in their people before the people believe in them, and they serve others before they are served. Number 2, we make ourselves more valuable to others. The whole idea of adding value to people depends on the idea that you have something of value to add. You can't give what you do not possess. What do you have to give others? Can you teach skills? Can you give opportunities? Can you offer insight and perspective gained through experience? None of these things comes without a price. If you have skills, you gain them through study and practice. If you have opportunities to give, you acquire them through hard work. If you possess wisdom, you gained it by intentionally evaluating the experiences that you've had. The more intentional you have been in growing personally, the more you have to offer. And the more that you continue to pursue personal growth, the more you will continue to have to offer. Number 3, know and relate to what others value. Inexperienced leaders are quick to lead before knowing anything about the people they intend to lead. But mature leaders listen, learn, and then lead. They listen to learn their people's stories. They find out about their hopes, their dreams. They become acquainted with their aspirations, and they pay attention to their emotions. From those things, they learn who their people are and what is valuable to them. And then they lead based upon what they've learned. When you do that, everybody wins. The organization, the leader, and the followers. Number 4, do things that God values. This final value may not be for you. If so, just skip it. But for me, it's non-negotiable. I believe that God desires us not only to treat people with respect, but also to actively reach out to them and serve them. Scripture provides many examples and descriptions of how we should conduct ourselves. But here's my favorite, captured by Eugene Peterson's The Message. When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty, and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort the people out, much as a shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting sheep to his right and goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Enter you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in this kingdom. I've been ready for you since the world's foundation, and here's why. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was homeless, and you gave me a room. I was shivering, and you gave me clothes. I was sick, and you stopped to visit. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then those sheep are going to say, "Master, what are you talking about? When did we see you hungry and feed you, and thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?" Then the king will say, "I'm telling you the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me." That standard for my conduct influences everything I do, not just in my leadership, but especially my leadership. because the more power I have, the greater my impact on others for better or worse. And I always want to be someone who adds value to others, not takes it away. God values people so much that when we add value to them, He takes it personally. When you embrace the law of addition and become a leader who adds value by serving others in the end, the math doesn't add up. Why do I say that? Because when you give, you receive back even more than you gave. And what you give gets multiplied. I think of this as the servanthood surprise. Here's how I experienced it. I thought adding value to others was what I should do, but I got a heart that valued people. When we help others, we can see them as weak. When we try to fix others, we see them as broken. These attitudes make us feel superior. But when we serve others, we see them as valuable. That changes us. It becomes part of us. Valuing people is part of my identity. Someday I will no longer be leading others, but I will never stop serving them. That's who I am. That's what I do. Another servanthood surprise for me was this. I thought adding value to help others be successful was personal, but I found out that it was contagious. Adding value to others was a personal decision. It was something that came from within, and I decided I needed to practice it every day privately. What surprised me is that others joined me. When they saw the joy it brought me, they started adding value to others also. The people of my organizations live to add value to other people. Another servant surprise I received was that I thought significance would come late in my life, but significance came early. Early in my career, I made a decision to add value to others by training them and creating resources to help them. That required me to do two things: develop creativity and consistency. I needed to keep coming up with ideas, and I needed to keep producing. Little did I know that these two attributes would compound and contribute so much to my success. Another servanthood surprise I thought adding value would have little return, but I discovered that the return is amazing. General Norman Schwarzkopf said, "You cannot help someone else get up a hill without getting closer to the top yourself." When I started adding value to others, I had no idea how much it would help me and give me joy. I've gotten back so much more than I've given. When you serve others, their success becomes your success. When you add value to others by serving others, you know it will help people, but there's no telling what will happen or how far it will go. For example, one day in 2016, I was playing golf with Chris Hodges, a pastor and a community leader in Birmingham, Alabama, who has served on the board of my nonprofit organization for many years. Chris is a wonderful person and a good friend. Between holes, I asked Chris how I could serve him. Always humble and generous, Chris said he couldn't think of anything, so I pressed him and asked him what he was excited about. Immediately, he began talking about Highlands College, a school he was working to establish. "Is there a way I can help you with that?" I asked. "What's your greatest need?" Chris said he was trying to raise money for an endowment so that 1,000 students a year could receive scholarships to attend the college at no cost. My response was to give him a day. I told him I'd come to Birmingham at my own expense, spend time at a breakfast with top donors, and then speak at a one-day event for which he could sell tickets. Chris accepted, and we set it up. Now, here's the wonderful thing. That day did raise some money for the college, and it was successful enough that we decided to do it again the next year and every year since. But even better, it has also encouraged additional donors to give money too. From the time Chris and I had that conversation on a golf course in 2020, Chris has raised $100 million for scholarships. The little I added had been multiplied. And that's how the law of addition inevitably works. When leaders add value by serving others, the math doesn't add up. Everyone gets back more than they give. If you desire to add value by serving others, you will become a better leader, and your people will achieve more, develop more loyalty, and have a better time getting things done than you ever thought possible. There's absolutely no downside to the law of addition. As I think about the law of addition, if people were to describe me, I think that they would probably attach me to this law more than any other. It's not because I think it's a more important law, but I really do live to add value to people. In fact, I've often said that kind of my life statement is that I add value to leaders who multiply value to others, that I intentionally every day value people. Every day I think of ways to add value to people, look for ways to add value to people. I do things that add value to people, and I encourage people like you as I'm reading this book to you to intentionally add value to others, to be a plus in people's lives. Here is what I know. I've known a lot of unhappy, successful people. When I think of success, I just think about, things I do for myself, my family, my home, my stuff, my money, my career. Success is kind of like about me. But significance is about others. And although I've met a lot of unhappy, successful people, I've never met an unhappy person that added value intentionally to others and lived their life to help other people. That's amazing to me. You see, this incredible law of addition basically says, if we'll forget ourselves and think of others, if we'll continually, intentionally add value to them, it is really a life full of fulfillment. So when I read the chapter to you on this incredible law, I thought of myself, and I thought, at 75, I'm finding so quickly that a life of adding value to people is a life that truly gives fulfillment and joy and a sense of significance that nothing else, I think, can ever be provided. So this is a beautiful law. It works in leadership, but I want to tell you, my friend, it also just works in life. Just become intentional in adding value to people and living out this law of addition, and I will promise you, your life will not someday improve. It will immediately improve. So let's go after that.